Hello, everyone. This is Eric Bastien from Be Your Best Self Coaching, and welcome to Mastermind and Magic, Transforming Lives. We are so excited to have you here today, and of course, we're going to be continuing with our Working with the Law series, and we're going to be looking at the law of forgiveness today. So what is this online event about, and what is Mastermind Magic? Well, when two or more people come together in conversation, a synergy happens. And ideas that would not otherwise come to mind reveal themselves. And that is the magic of the mastermind. Today, we're here to use the power of the mastermind to provide you with real action steps that you can apply immediately. So who are we? We are a group of life enhancers who are highly trained, deeply intuitive, and have a passion for helping people. We are here to help you to take the steps to live a life that you absolutely love living. We're not doctors or therapists, and it is important that you seek medical direction from licensed doctors in regard to any medical conditions. We simply offer alternative thought patterns, not with the intent to replace medical advice in any way, shape, or form, but to enhance understanding of yourself. And with that information, Felicia Lonobile is going to come on and share some additional information with us today.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. My name is Felicia Lonobile, and I'm a certified life mastery consultant. So let me continue with our presentation this evening. So during our event today, or this evening, tonight, I should say, feel free to post your comments. If you would like to ask us a question, select the down arrow near the bottom of your comments, near the word "to everyone," and select "to admin." This will allow your question to be sent exclusively to us and not everyone. If time permits, after our pre-submitted questions, we will answer your questions. And if we don't have time, we'll notify you of when you will be able to find your answers on our Mastermind Transforming Lives Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. There are Facebook and Twitter links on the page, so you are welcome to let people know you are here. Please feel free to share with all your friends. Make sure to like us on Facebook so you can stay updated on future events and receive many added life-enhancing tips. Check at the top of your chat for the link if you haven't visited our page yet. We are scheduled to be here for an hour, so make sure to stay until the end to receive a special gift. And with that, I will segue to Andrea, where she's going to do a presentation with slides. And the topic this evening is the law of forgiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia.
You're welcome.
So we're going to start with the slides, and everybody can jump in with their thoughts. So let's get this started. The law, and this always happens to us, it bounces to the end. So let's get to the beginning. Okay. The law of forgiveness. And this is something that is a big, hairy deal for a lot of people. So hopefully we're going to uncomplicate that for you. So Raymond Hollowell says in Working with the Law, a man who is great enough to forgive is always greater than the forgiven. He is greater than his adversary. And I remember my mother always saying, be the bigger person. You know, always out of her mouth was forgive, forgive, forgive. And you're the bigger person. So that's kind of what that means, is you are rising above that situation or circumstance, and you're letting go of all of that emotion from that other person.
And I was just going to say that it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be the bigger person in this case. And but we're going to give you some tips and so forth on how to do that as well as we continue with our presentation. So.
And as we know, when it's something small, it's always easier to forgive than when it's something that was painful and so big for us to even contemplate thinking forgiving the person. But we will show you how forgiveness is really all about us and where you are in your life versus being about the other person you're forgiving.
I totally agree with that too, because forgiveness is really releasing the change on your own heart because you may think you're forgiving someone else, but you're not really, because what you're doing is you're just releasing it for yourself, because forgiving someone really helps you out more than it helps them.
Okay. So the quality of forgiveness must be as limitless as faith, hope, and love. And what that's saying is there is no limit to forgiveness. And it's a constant, it's a process. It's an ongoing process that continues throughout your life. Just like your ability to have faith and to have hope and your ability to love.
It's very much like brushing your teeth, if you will, right? There's a cleanliness that happens. There's a freeing up of, you know, the all the stuff that's in your teeth and so forth. Forgiveness is really about the same thing. It's like it's a cleansing of the mind, if you will. The more you do it, and it's a practice, and the better you get at it, then of course you're just releasing pent up energy that could be used for other things, right? So, yeah.
And with that, Eric, that energy, I look at it as negative energy or a negative charge even that you cannot release from your body, because this negativity weighs in you. So if you have this situation that occur, or even a person that hurt you, think about it. It's just the mind bringing up that story over and over again. If it's something that happened a while back, and as long as you don't forgive the person or the situation, this negative just lingers on, and it's heavy on you, and it also prevents from the life you deserve.
And the quality of forgiveness, you can think about it as you can lightly forgive someone, but not totally forgive them. And that's maybe a little bit hard to think about when you're thinking of the depth of your forgiveness. But if you turn it around and think of the depth of your love for someone, or the depth of your faith in something, or your hope in something, then you can kind of get the idea of what the quality is. Like if you really, really love someone, think about the quality of that love towards someone. And there may be other people that you're friends with that you love, but it's not the quality of love that you have with a soulmate or a partner. So that's what they're talking about by the quality of forgiveness. There are different levels to it, and it must be limitless in order to totally free yourself with this forgiveness.
I think Athina has joined us. I'm not sure. There she is. You got anything for us, Athina? Or shall we move on?
Go ahead and move on.
Okay. So this is my absolute favorite. It's the best definition I have ever heard, and it makes the most sense to me. And it comes from A Course in Miracles. And it says, forgiveness is the shift in our perception that removes the block in me to see love's presence. And if you really think about it, whenever we're not in forgiveness, we just don't see love at all. We're in angst instead, and that clouds love altogether.
Absolutely. It's very much like you said, like a cloud following you everywhere you go. You know, it's always with you. So it's really important that, I mean, in many cases, forgiveness is the only way to go, right? If you've got some resentment, you've got something that you're holding in you, or something, you know, it could be something that happened, and you're holding on to that. Forgiveness is really the only way to release that, to let it go, or you know, to shift the way you're looking at it, so that and and to neutralize that negative charge, so that you're not you don't have that cloud hanging over your head all the time.
And we're going to show you how to do that later on.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Well, when I think of the block in me, it's kind of like when you don't forgive someone, you're holding on to that anger, resentment, and you're actually giving your freedom away because you're holding yourself in this prison. So how are you able to even feel or see love's presence if you're within that prison of your anger? So take your power back and release that block and forgive the person or the situation so that you can move on and see love's presence. That's very, very important to get your power back. Anyone else?
That's so true, Lisa. It's almost like, sort of like what Eric was talking about. You're holding on to this. You might have the cloud kind of over your head, but it's almost like the baggage that people talk about. You're carrying all this baggage with you all the time. So you're holding on to this. So if somebody's handing you something that you really want, but you're holding on to all of this, you're never going to be able to receive what it is that you truly want. So then it's just allow it to let go. It'll change your perspective, but it'll really allow in the love that you're looking for.
Yeah, and just yeah. Oh, sorry. I just want to say one other thing as well. Is that forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you. You know, you benefit from forgiveness. The other person won't. You know, the other person could go on with their life and could be happy and doing everything. You know, they're loving their life, and you're the one that's holding on to that information, to that guilt or that resentment. So it's you that benefits, and that's key.
And it may be like in this quote, it's talking about a shift in perception, because in the moment that something happened, it could be where you were looking from, the person's intention may have totally been the opposite of what you perceived. So you've been carrying this around for so long, where it was just a misunderstanding. Could have been. I'm not saying every situation, but there have been many times where that's even been for myself, where it's like, oh, I didn't see it that way. And once you're able to, in that moment that something happens, to be able to forgive in that moment because you see a different perspective, that allows you to move forward more quickly in your life and to allow in the abundance that's coming into your life.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so an unforgiving thought is one that makes judgment. And if you think about that, we can't hold angst or hatred or anger without making judgment on the situation. We've judged it as bad, or we've judged it as wrong, or we've taken it personally. And the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, one of the agreements is don't take anything personally because it's never about us. So, judgment holds guilt and shame and anger. And who is it hurting? It's hurting us.
And many times people that have not forgiven themselves or others, they tend to be people that are very judgmental. It tends to be like that because if you think about it, like the description that I was giving just a few moments ago, where you're holding on to these things, these things that you haven't let go, and you're looking at somebody else and being like, oh, I would really love that, but I've got all this. So it's almost like you're judging that other person. Where you're able to let it go, you can admire what it is that the other person has and how you're opening yourself up to be able to receive that in your life.
because we tend to be critical of ourselves. You know, when we hear things, we immediately assume, well, I did something wrong or I said something wrong, when all along it's not about us. It's about that person, the message you got from that person. So try to look at that person and say, is that person coming to me from a place of love? Is this a call of love, or is it an expression of love? That is the difference. This is huge, because when someone is calling for love, they're going to hurt you unknowingly, unconsciously, because they're just calling. They're just, notice me, I'm here, I need love, I'm in pain. But when someone is expressing love, then you know that it's different, totally different picture. You know that that person has love and wants to give love. And you know it. So when you could just look at the situation, take a step back and say, okay, this is hurting me right now. What happened here? Try to look, try to take the time. I know it's not always easy to do that depending on the situation. But if it's something that you can, I highly recommend you start doing that, because it's going to release, like I said earlier, this negative charge that it keeps building up in you. And the more build up you get, the more it's going to slow you down. And it's going to stop you from living the life you want to live. You want an abundant life. You want perfect health. You want the perfect relationships. You want time and money freedom. You can't have that if you don't start understanding that forgiveness is about us and shifting that block, that energy in us. And the best way to do that is to see, where is it coming from? The person. Is that person in pain? Did the person mean to say that? Have a conversation. Have it out if you can. But forgiveness, it always comes back to us. If you want to live a happy life, you have to learn to go through the process of forgiving. And it's not something you get done in one day or even a couple of hours. This is an ongoing process. I just wanted to add that. Sorry, I got carried away. Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Felicia. That is so true. And think about your unforgiving thoughts too. Think about how if you just change your language slightly, it's not as judgmental. So if you think about someone that's hurt you, maybe, did something against you that hurt your particular business or your job or whatever, and you say, oh, they destroyed my career or they destroyed my business. And then you could also, that's way on the negative side. That's way on the unforgiving thought side of it. And if you just change your language a little bit and think about, well, that's an interesting decision I'll have to make, or that's an interesting situation that I need to figure out how to overcome, because that really brings that negative charge down if you just are more careful with the words that you use, that they're not as judgmental. There's a huge difference between someone destroying you and someone giving you an interesting opportunity to analyze and figure out what you're going to do next.
And just to add on to what Felicia was saying about things being an act of love or a call for love, one of the things that you can think about, in perception, is when people are making an uneducated call for love. That could be anger. They could be just lashing out. Maybe the words that they use weren't the best at the time, different things like that. If you picture this person, their emotional state is one where they feel hurt all the time. It could be even that they feel like they're drowning in what's going on in their life and they don't know how to handle it. So by not being able to know how to handle it, they'll lash out in anger or something like that. So that could be a way to see that if you're having a hard time seeing it for what it is and then being able to move on. It may evoke some more compassion in the way that you're seeing the person. But by all means, if somebody is being lashing out at you physically or anything like that, go to remove yourself. There's no reason for you to be in that situation. There's no reason for you to be there and be like, I have compassion for this person, you know, but if you feel that you're going to be physically harmed or anything like that, you don't deserve that in any way. Seek to remove yourself.
Okay. Good stuff. He who would not forgive must judge, and he must justify his failure to forgive. Now think about that. How many people they do something and then they go and they make up this elaborate story about why they're justified in doing what they've done. And it's all, I have every right to be mad at that person because of what he did. And that's very much in victim energy, that to me, this is happening to me. And once you really start to study, you understand that life happens through you and with you. And you immediately can move towards forgiveness because you don't need to justify your actions anymore. And once you learn to forgive, then it all just becomes a much softer, gentler place. And your nervous system begins to settle down and be more at peace. Anybody else?
Yeah, it's just the aim is to, as you're going through life, to have as much calmness that you can in what you're doing. And when you're holding grudges, you probably feel that in your body as constriction, and that would mean you have something to let go. So if you feel that constriction, there's something that you're not letting go of. So to look for what that is, make a decision in that moment to say, I'm releasing it, and then move forward. And stop yourself if you continue to look back on it. It's not serving you on being able to move forward. So
I'm just gonna add.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Athina. I just wanted to add another way, the way I like to do it for me, instead of just looking to see if I'm right or wrong, how about looking at the situation and saying, is it making me, do I want to be sorry? Do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? As long as we keep telling ourselves we want to be right in a conversation, that constriction, oh boy, it stays here because now you want to prove a point. But then just pause. Press the pause button and say, you know what? I just want to be happy. And as you're saying those words, as you're uttering those words, you just feel this release. Just leaves you, and you feel it so easily. So, and it's the way to go about life, because being right, you'll never win. Even if you think you're right, the other person wants to be right. There are no winners. So I figure I'm going to be happy and move on.
And what came to mind while you were talking about that, Felicia, is it's almost like you're on two sides of a glass wall, and you're both saying your parts of the story, and you could both be getting angry or something like that, but it's steaming up those sides of the glass window, you know, the glass. And then all of a sudden when you let it go, that like dissipates, and you're able to see the other person now, instead of just the fog that both of you just shoved in front of each other.
It's also like two people holding a beach ball.
Yeah.
You know, like Athena's side is orange, yellow, and blue, and my side is pink. And I'll tell her but no, this is what color it is. And she'll say, but no, this is what color it is. And neither one of us are right or wrong. You know, we're just seeing it from our perspective. So being right, that's how we make sense of our world, is that we need to be right. But if we really take a look at it and we see it from the other person's perspective, we all live in our own worlds and we're all right.
Yeah, and I just like to add a little something here about when you're talking about justifying your failure to forgive, it's really about blaming another person. But to blame another person is actually trying to control them, and you can't control somebody else. You can't control what they say or what they do. And a lot of times people who are hurting hurt other people. They don't mean it, but they're in such a bad place in their own life. And so it's easy to blame someone. But what's a really good thing to do is to take your own control, and you are in control of the forgiveness. It doesn't have anything to do with anyone else. It's all about you and freeing yourself, because when you have a failure to forgive, you can feel that constriction around your heart. And just walking around all day blaming, and not forgiving, you're carrying that, burden in your heart. And if someone comes and walks by you, and so you're hurting, so what do? You hurt other people. And so forgiveness is really so good for your own heart and your own soul. And you feel so much better because you can feel the goodness in your heart once you've forgiven someone. And it doesn't mean that you're accepting what they did or agreeing with what they did or said. Forgiveness is more about just letting go of that and send them love. Every time you feel that constriction coming up, when you're angry about something that happened or frustrated, just send out love. And one of the things Athina was saying, if you feel that, someone is harming you in some way, the best thing to do is just send them love and get out of the situation. Just turn around and walk out. Because then you can preserve your own goodness within your own heart. So it's just very, very important to think about how good it feels to forgive someone, how good it feels to be in that higher vibration, in that loving moment. Because all of us, we just want to enjoy life and we just want to love each other. So failing to forgive can really hurt you more than anyone else. Anybody else have anything to add?
Well said.
Well said. Thank you, Lisa.
So this is just a little add-on. The mind is closed. When your mind is closed, it cannot release. So it's a good thing for us, in my opinion, to stay as open-minded as possible and to see a situation from all sides whenever we can. That's not always possible in the moment. Sometimes we are so caught up in a situation that we can't see it right away. But if you step back from it and you try and see it from all sides, it opens up your mind and it allows for the release. Because as long as that mind is a steel trap, nothing's getting in and nothing's getting out.
Yeah, it's almost like Chinese handcuffs. You've probably done that where you stick your fingers in the thing and then you can't get out because you're trying so hard. And when you stop trying, it'll work.
Yeah, it's good to get into the question of what can I forgive today? What can I forgive? I mean, if you're in that, well, first of all, notice what you're noticing, right? If you're noticing that you're just you're super upset and you're uptight and your mind is just closed, then recognize that, right? Recognize that. That's an opportunity for you to notice what you're noticing and to realize that maybe there is a way to release, and forgiveness is often is a very good practice to do, because that is a way of releasing. So you can ask yourself the question, what can I release now? What's bothering me? And then whatever comes up to mind, work on that. And we're going to go through different techniques a little later on about how to do that.
One easy way is to send love to that person. that you're thinking about that's making you feel constricted. And
Yeah.
another thing is, what story is your mind telling you? Is it a recent story? Is it an old story? Is it a 20-year-old story and you're still carrying that grudge? That's just gonna destroy the person. You have to learn to release. There's a process to release that pain or that shame or that hurt. But sometimes we're feeling bad for something that happened a long time ago. Even the person could have passed on and we're still holding a grudge. We don't realize it. We're like so controlled by our thoughts. We're just like numb. We go about life just, I'm upset with this person. We don't even know why because it's been so long, but we still carry that energy, that negative energy in us. Sorry, Andrea, you were saying?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I think the most important thing, I think Eric said it. I'm not sure who said it, but when we're holding all that energy, like Felicia is talking about, it could be 20 years, it could be however long. That energy is being used up for something that you could be, doing something really creative with.
Yeah.
That and to me, that's the key to all of this is why would you wait past when you could be using it in something really great for now or in the future? All right, let's see what else we got. All right, the Buddha, we love him. The Buddha says, and we've been talking about this all along, everybody's been saying this in different ways. The Buddha says, the one who throws the hot stone is the one that's going to get burned. So, it's that karma thing, if you're holding a hot stone, for sure, your hand is going to get burned. Something to really contemplate and think about.
Or if you decide that you're not going to forgive a certain someone because they don't deserve to be forgiven, guess what? Who's living a miserable life? Who's unhappy all the time? Who's the person that everything in their life is always going wrong? Who's the person that's losing money or losing friends all over the place, or the family, they're not communicating as they used to or they should, because that person is deciding is not going to forgive that other person for whatever reason. So that's how it impacts our life, by not forgiving someone. That's how important it is, forgiveness, to just release, because it opens up a world for you. Truly a world. Guys, anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying there, Felicia, because, and I love this quote, it's one of my favorite quotes, because you're the only one that's being hurt from hanging on to this story and not forgiving. Why would you want to stay stuck in this story that you made up, right? The other person could have had a totally different intention on what they were saying or doing. And you are stuck on this story that just holds you down. Why would you want to struggle with this story for so long? For years, sometimes people do this. When if you could just release it and move on with your life, you could really be able to enjoy your life, enjoy all the love and happiness in your life. Why hang on to it and why suffer? Why do people want to suffer with anger and not forgiving? It doesn't make sense when you really think about it. Anyone else?
And I was just thinking, as you go through the process and you're forgiving, you've released things, and you come into a situation where maybe before an idea would come up where you would have an emotion that, oh, I don't like this person, and you haven't forgiven them. Say you come into contact with that person again and you don't have that feeling. That feeling's not there anymore. You've actually released it and you don't have that feeling. The key is stop looking for it. Just keep moving forward. It's like, if you've released it, accept that it's released and continue to move forward. Don't go looking for how it used to be. That means that you move beyond. So keep moving forward.
and says a lot of this as well. Forgiveness is not for the other, and it is not condoning the actions of the other. It is simply releasing the emotional charge inside of you towards that person, that situation, and, or that thing that needs the forgiveness. So, it's not ever about saying, oh, it's all right what you did. And even if they absolutely meant to hurt you, it's still never about you. It's about them.
Yes.
So, and you don't ever have to say, oh, that's all right that you did that. What we're doing is we're just releasing the emotional charge inside of us about that thing and saying, I am bigger than that. I am more than that. And I want to live my life in a different way.
Yeah, and actually with forgiveness, it doesn't require you to have a conversation with the person that you're forgiving. So sometimes people will think, oh, in order to forgive them, I have to have a conversation and let my side be heard and all of that. It's completely your emotion and your choice and your releasing. It doesn't require a conversation to have closure. You create your own closure in the situation.
Yeah. Everything that happens to you is in your mind. So everything that you see, everything that you hear, it all happens within you, really. And it's an experience. That's all it is. It's just your thoughts, right? So just remember that it always happens in your mind, and you're the person that's affected if you don't forgive.
Because it's the thoughts that cause the emotions, right? And
Correct.
then the emotions, they're either happy emotions or not so happy emotions, but it all started with the thought. So what thought are you having about that person when you're thinking about them? That they owe you, that you can't forgive them? So if we notice our thoughts, then we're able to do something about it. But the easiest way is, like Athina says, you don't have to call up the person and say, I forgive you. You can just forgive them in your thoughts, in your mind, send them love and light, and the energy will get to them. And eventually, when you could think of that person, oh, this is very important. I'm getting a download here. When you could think of that person and there's no emotions left attached to that person, to that image, to that situation, that's your sign that you have forgiven that person. And now it's just a memory with no emotions attached.
Absolutely. And one thing that I was saying earlier is by forgiving someone, it is not condoning their actions. And like Athena was saying, you don't even have to talk to the person. But if you believe that they meant to hurt you, that's the story within your head. Like Eric was saying, it's all about your reaction. So a belief is only a thought that you keep thinking. That's what Abraham says. And so if you think a thought that is harming you and unforgiving, that's your belief. But if you can believe that you yourself are a loving, forgiving person, and there may have been a reason that this other person did what they did, maybe a situation they're in themselves, then you will be able to release it. It's very, very important to release that emotional charge because it's only harming yourself. And when you do forgive them, it's not saying to that person, it's okay what you did, because it may not be within your own belief system. What they did may have been terribly wrong. But since a belief is a thought that you keep thinking, believe a better thought. Believe that you are love and kindness, and release that thought of anger and that emotional charge inside of you. And you'll be amazed at how much it will change your life. It has changed my own life so much by forgiving and just sending the person love that hurt me. Just think about the feeling inside of you when you're holding that in, right? That emotional charge in. And then think about when you send that person love, think about how much better you're feeling inside of you. It really is a total shift in your perception that can really change your life. Anybody else?
Thanks, Lisa. So, and again, this is an ongoing process. It never stops. It's something to do every day. Like Eric said, maybe you're in the shower and just ask, what can I forgive today? You will know when something no longer needs the forgiveness. And it may take an hour, it may take days, it may take your lifetime to actually forgive that person. But you will know when you can talk about that situation and all the emotional charge has left your body. You no longer feel any emotion towards it. That's how you know when forgiveness is truly complete.
And it's funny when you're talking about an ongoing daily process, because what I was thinking of today is you really have to have forgiveness throughout your day. Because I can think of a lot of situations, just even today driving to work, that somebody pissed me off, cut me off in traffic or whatever. So really, forgiveness is an ongoing daily process that you have to work on consistently, because there's always something, circumstance, or a person in your life that may frustrate you, irritate you, or whatever. So it's not really only about something that you need to forgive in the past, but it is a daily thing, like brushing your teeth, just to cleanse that out so that you don't, at the end of the day, have that, fierce emotional charge because you haven't forgiven some of the silliest things that happened, within your day. It really is important to have it as a daily process.
Yeah, and it's almost a moment by moment process, because there's things that we do and we may not forgive ourselves. And you're with yourself all day. So you may be inside your home all day and you're not interacting with anyone. But for some reason you got mad, but you were the only one there. So it could be moment by moment. Is every thought that you have, is it supporting you? Is it helping you to move forward? Or is it bringing you back? And then the way that we know that is by what we're sensing and we're feeling. Are we feeling calm in this moment? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling joyful, happy? That means we're moving forward. Or have we absorbed something? So now we feel restriction, we feel doubt, we feel anxiety. And is there something for us to release? Did something happen where now we haven't released that, which would be forgiving? So.
Very good. When we hold anger and resentment, anxiety, you name it, all those negative emotions, it gets held in every single cell of our body. And what we've been talking about all along, and Felicia most loudly has been trying to communicate how it creates such disharmony in our body. And it can literally make us sick in its worst case scenario. But it will always keep us from inner peace and harmony to move forward.
And this brings up, there was a study by Dr. Emoto, and many of us have probably seen it, is the rice experiment, as well as our effects on water, just at the cellular level of water. If we have positive thoughts, and then crystals form like snowflakes, but if we have negative thoughts, if we have anger, if we have any of that, then they're disformed. So the water molecules at a cellular level are are in disharmony. They're in their own type of sickness. So the power that we have with our thoughts and how that changes us. So if that's happening to one cell, one molecule of water, we as individuals are 60 to 70% water. So think of our thoughts that we're giving that. Now multiply that thought by all of that in your body. So if that was a negative thought, how many times has that duplicated through your body? Or if you have a positive thought, that's why you can feel that all over. You can feel it all over. Water is a conductor, so it's going to shoot that good feeling all over your body. So that's what we want.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry. I was just going to say that if you think about resentment, anxiety, it gives you stress, which can even give you ulcers. So think about what this disharmony within your body can do, what you're doing to yourself at a cellular level. It actually breaks down your body. So your body can't heal. And so creating that disharmony can really cause sickness within yourself.
There's a lot of research that suggests that many types of cancers are caused by negative emotions that just have been suppressed and kept in the body for too long, and that's how it manifests. So please go back and listen. You know, Felicia's words were so very important earlier.
Thank you.
They really were, Felicia. If a person resists a situation, this is just more of the same. If a person resists a situation, they will always have it with them. The more you resist something, the more it persists. And what we think about, what we give energy to, grows.
Yes. So
I don't know that we need to. I'd really like to get into the forgiveness practices.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is again, we're giving away the lesser for the greater, right? That's all we're really doing is giving away something less for something even better. So, oh my goodness, hold on just a moment. I just got kicked out. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Eric, I know this is your baby, so would you take this one over?
woohoo! I can't hear him.
Eric, I think you're muted.
I am. Thank you so much for pointing that out. It's a good thing I can hear you. Yes, Ho'oponopono, and I'm probably not pronouncing it properly, but it's an ancient Hawaiian tradition, and it's basically, it uses 4 forces, and it's extremely powerful. So, and there's 4 steps, and it's not really important that you have them in order necessarily, but the first one is repentance. So I'm sorry, and the next one is asking for forgiveness. So please forgive me. This third step is gratitude. Thank you, saying thank you. And the fourth step is love, or I love you. So I'm going to give you an example on how this can be used. Let's say there's somebody that you want to forgive, and it could even be yourself. So let's use ourselves, for example, as an example. And so let's say there's, I don't know, it could be something that you did or that you said that you're just not very happy about, and you want to forgive that action. You want to forgive that behavior. So what I like to do is I like to put myself or the person on stage, pretend in your mind that you're putting them on a stage. It's a dark stage, and that you basically put the spotlight right on them. All right, so all you see is that person on the stage, and then you go through the different steps. Right. So the first thing is you'll say, I'm sorry. And you'll say, and it could be the action or you just say, I'm sorry, and just repeat it and repeat it. Let me see if I've got any other information I can share here with you. You're just repeating what it is that, you're just saying, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for what I said. And you just keep going it through your mind. Then you go through, let's say, the next step, which is to forgive. So please forgive me. Please forgive me. And just go through that in your mind, saying thank you. Thank you for, thank you for being, let's say, for forgiving yourself. Thank you for all the steps, all the actions that you've taken, for the person that you are, for the best that you've done. And then say, I love you. I love you overall. And just kind of go over that over and over and over again. There's different meditations that you can find online as well on Ho'oponopono. It's a very, very powerful practice. And I know one of the first times I did it, I was curled up in my bed going through it, and there was a release, a huge release, and I felt great afterwards. I just kind of let it go, let go of that emotional charge, neutralize it, and then you feel great, and then you're ready to move on to something else. And that's the key, is to make sure that that you don't go back to those thoughts. You don't go back to those thoughts. You don't go back to that unforgiveness. You just simply move on to the next stage. So, anybody else want to comment on that?
I have a tool. Go ahead, Andrea.
Just one word of caution. Do not do this when you're driving, or when you're involved in something. I've done this many times, and sometimes absolutely nothing seems to happen. And other times I am so emotionally moved that I'm just glad I'm sitting down and in a safe place. This is something, if you just listen, if you say, I love you, and listen to what thoughts come to you, or thank you. If you're really angry at someone and you're saying thank you, some thoughts will come to you that may never have come to you otherwise. So it's really a powerful, powerful practice. And you can do it often as is required. Felicia?
Thank you, Andrea. I just wanted to add that there's a tool that I use for myself when I want to forgive someone. I figure I'm going to share it with everyone. And what I do is, so I think of a person that I want to forgive, and I call that person by name. So I'll say, for instance, Maria. Let's just use any name. Maria, I forgive you. And I ask you now to forgive me. And then I add, I wish you well, I wish you joy, and I wish you love. And I'll say these things several times a day until I release that energy if I'm having difficulties forgiving a certain someone. So the way I do it, first I forgive them, but then I ask them to forgive me. Do you see? You see the reciprocity in this, because it's not just me forgiving them, but I'm asking them to forgive me, because I'm not any better. I'm human. I make errors. I make mistakes. I may have hurt them and I don't know about it. So when I use this tool, I find it helps me a lot. So I just wanted to share this other tool that we can use for forgiveness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia.
You're welcome.
Okay, good. And this is along the lines of what Felicia just said. It's the Dalai Lama. And I guess you can use any words that really resonate with you. But this is what the Dalai Lama says. You put, the first thing you do is you put a person that you love deeply into your mind. May you live in peace. May you live in love. May you walk in the ways of peace. May all things work in harmony for your highest good. And then you slip out that person that you love deeply and you put in the person that you are looking to forgive. Somebody that this might be a little bit harder. And you say it again. May you be truly happy. May you live in peace. May you live in love. May you walk in the ways of peace. And may all things work in harmony for your highest good. And you'll see how that changes a little bit. And sometimes it even means, you might say, as long as you don't get hit by a bus. At the end, you're into truly feeling that you want their highest good. Lisa? We got everybody jumping in and out. We're all back, yay. So
yeah, we wanted to make sure everybody could see it. We wanted to make sure everybody could see what was on the screen.
Okay.
Because we can't see all the lettering.
Thank you. So Lisa?
Yeah, I was just going to add that, this is truly a wonderful practice. Like Andrea was saying, think of someone that you really love, because there may be someone that's very hard to forgive. And when you think of that person, it brings, a lot of anger, resentment up. So if you put in place someone that you truly love and say these words and then switch that other person in, you're coming from a place of love instead of starting with a place of resentment. So that's really important too, is it's a way to be able to think about that person when you're coming from love.
I always ask myself, what would love do? And that changes everything.
I'm in a situation right now where my daughter is normally she gets to practice her dancing. I'm in the basement area and she gets to practice over here, but right now she's actually dancing right above my head. I've got an opportunity to forgive right now. And of course I love her, so it's an easy thing to forgive, right? But all I hear is bang, bang, bang. So I've got to put myself on mute once in a while just so that it doesn't get carried through on the webinar. So.
So we're coming towards the end here. I want to know, does anybody have anything coming up that they'd like to share?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So for those of you that live in the city of Montreal, because that's where I'm from, I have an upcoming workshop. I call it my holiday special. And the reason for that is in December, I'm going to have a workshop that's going to go over the weekend. So I've scheduled myself to be able to host a workshop on Saturday and Sunday so that I can accommodate those that are available on the Saturday versus those that are available on Sunday. I usually don't do this. I usually do one workshop a month, but for December, for the month of December, I've decided I'm going to do a workshop a couple of weeks before Christmas so as to inspire and uplift people. And we're going to work on our dreams. I'm going to help you design, test it, define, and leave my workshop knowing a couple of tools that you yourself will be able to apply immediately to your life and maybe even share these tools with loved ones. So if you're in the area, I'd love to see you there. Thank you.
Yeah, you should go see her. I went to Canada. And I just put in the chat area, just so everybody knows, I put the link to our Facebook page. So Felicia will be putting her event on there. And if there's anything else any of us are doing, we'll be sure to post those on there so you can find them. And if you're in the area, we would love to see you in person.
All right, I guess that's it, right?
Yeah, and we actually have, if you in this time of Thanksgiving here in the United States, I believe Canada has a different time schedule, but we are actually giving a free strategy session to anyone that would like to meet with any of us. On your screen in the chat area, there's a place where you can just click and request any of us. Just check the little box, and then we'll be able to connect with you to be able to have a discussion on taking this information further. And there were parts in our webinar today where We have actually gone into depth. We were starting to talk about law of attraction at different points, and we actually did a video on that a while back at the beginning of the year. So those videos can be found in the events page for this event. So you can go on there, or our YouTube channel, you can check that out. So I think our last piece of information for everyone is our calendar, which is a download, where it's only going to have one more. So it's going to be on the 2nd Wednesday of December is going to be our last webinar for 2018. So if you are coming to the end, this may be the first one that you've seen, and then you're going to see the other one. You can actually go back, and we covered all of the universal laws over the whole year. So we really encourage you to go back and be able to look at those as well. So I will put in the chat area a link to the webinar. So you have probably already registered for this webinar. So if you would have chosen to continue to receive updates, you will have received updates. But what I'll do is I'll just put it in there for you. So I'll leave it on there at the end when we log off, and it'll be there for you. So you would just click on there and you'll be registered for the next webinar. And if you're not able to see us live, just go ahead and register, because you'll receive the replay link for that. And we just love what we do. You've probably seen that in everyone, and we really have a lot to share. We could probably talk about this for hours. That's what we do. You know, so is there anything anybody else wanted to add before we sign off? So we just want to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving, since we won't see you before then, if we are, and we just pray for everybody that all of the things that are happening around the world, we all come from love.
Namaste.
Absolutely. Namaste, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.